This episode is brought to you by Arch Apparel, the St. Louis streetwear brand that's repping the 314 like no one else. Created for St. Louis and proud of St. Louis, Arch Apparel creates elevated, everyday pieces that celebrate the city's culture, community, and creativity. Whether you're catching a cards game, heading to a show at the pageant, or just grabbing coffee in the Grove or the Hill, Arch has gear that gets what it means to be from here. Think bold designs, quality fits, and that subtle flex that only real St. Louisans recognize. Check them out at archapparel.com or swing by their Ballpark Village store right across from Busch Stadium to grab something that reps the Lou with pride. I have done both, having bought numerous items in store when I visit St. Louis and online, and it makes me so proud to represent the Lou by supporting this amazing small business. Big thanks to Arch Apparel for supporting this episode. Now let's go get it.
I'm pushing the limit. I'm pushing the limit. I'll take it as far as I can go. So let's go. Whoa. I'm working overtime and I do it right.
Welcome to another episode of the Tommy Denos podcast. I cannot tell you how excited I am for today's show for so many reasons. As you can see behind me, we are not in a studio, but for me, this is hallowed ground because we are shooting in my second home, the city of St. Louis, Missouri. And not only that, we are shooting inside of the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum, and I'm humbly honored to have this opportunity. Speaking of our amazing sponsor, Arch Apparel, they were extremely generous to donate the shirts that my guest and I are wearing right now, straight from their Stan Musial collection, which is the perfect segue to introduce my guest today. He is the grandson of, in my mind, and I know in the mind of many others, one of the most underrated legends in the history of baseball and arguably the most beloved St. Louis Cardinal, the one and only Stan the Man Musial. Our conversation today is about the relationship between grandfather and grandson with a legendary career in baseball as the backdrop. I'm incredibly honored and proud to have as my guest today, Brian Musial Schwarze. Brian, it is an honor and an absolute privilege to have you here.
Pleasure is
Thanks
all mine.
for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So we're talking a little bit about the last time you were here. How long has it been?
Probably been about 2 years.
A couple years. And how much did you have a hand in everything that we see back here, all the artifacts from your grandfather behind us in display?
We had a hand in some of it. I mean, the family, it was all spread out throughout the whole family, a lot of the stuff. So as you can see, there's a ton of stuff here, and it's it's a sight to be seen.
And one of the things that stands out to me, is probably can't see it on camera, but right behind us, you have kind of a timeline of Stan Musial and 1947, a little bit about his contract. And it says after second and almost valuable player award and fourth trip to the World Series, when he was making about $13,500 in 1946, he got a quote unquote raise to $31,000. The next year. So compared to today, I mean, I'm sure you probably talked. I don't know if you ever talked to him about his contracts and kind of money back then. But did he have any much to say about kind of what he made back then and how the contracts compared to now?
He talked about more what would I be making now?
Yeah.
What would that contract look like?
Because you said he was the first $100,000.
Yeah, in the
baseball
50s, he was the first $100,000. Babe Ruth was the first in the AL, and he was the first in the NL.
Well, my Cardinal origin story, my dad was, as I told you, he was from St. Louis, my brother and sister, and I think I missed being born in St. Louis by maybe 4 or 5 years. I'm from Houston. But, I was raised a Cardinal fan. So being in here, it's overwhelming in the best possible way. I bleed Cardinal red. And so talk about, kind of how your background, with your grandfather and your introduction to the Cardinals.
Geez, it starts probably when I was really a teenager. Like I don't think I realized who he truly was until my teenage years. I mean, they had talked about it, but I don't think you could fully encompass who he was because he was we called him Papo. That was his nickname to all of us. Because he apparently used to pop the ball up. I don't know if that was true or not, but I didn't get that nickname, but that's what we all called him. And really, in teenage years, when I started to come down to the stadium more, and he would actually take me down to the stadium with him, and we'd be able to get in the clubhouse, and I started to realize, oh, this guy's something special, right?
So growing up, did he talk a lot about baseball with you, or was it just more of just kind of a normal, grandfather-grandson relationship?
It was a lot more normal grandfather-grandson relationship. He kind of left the baseball to do what you wanted to do, and he didn't try to teach you too much. I mean, a lot of the great players players, the way they would see things. Like he would tell me, he's like, "Oh, you couldn't see the spin on the curveball, and you knew where it's going to end up." Like, no, Grandpa, there's only like 4 people in the world that can do that.
I remember Ted Williams said he could smell, the smoke off the foul ball.
Yeah, right.
Because I mean, he had that incredible vision. But I mean, your grandfather and Ted Williams were two of a kind.
Oh, and I think they both had under 2020 vision. They had like 2015 or 2010 vision is what they were saying back in the day. And it's just hard to see that way. I mean, no one's going to do that.
So tell me about the Schwarze. Let's get into your background first. Let's talk about the Schwarze name first of all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my dad was a cardiologist here in St. Louis for 49 years. And my mom, they grew up. They met after college, and they were married for close to 50 years. Unfortunately, my dad passed a couple of years ago.
Okay. And so now you work for a company called, is it Draver?
Draver.
Okay.
Yes.
And what is that?
It is a logistics company, which I know that can mean a lot of things, but it's Uber for the drive-away industry. So my college roommate started a company 10 years ago. I hopped in very early on. We've since sold it to the largest Latin American startup company 4 years ago. So now I work for a Mexican company.
Oh, okay. That's pretty cool. So you're a minor league player for the Cardinals.
I was.
Talk about how that came about and your experience with the Cardinals.
Yeah, so 2004 and 2005, I played in the minor leagues with the Cardinals. I was at rookie ball at Johnson City, and then I was down at spring training as well at Jupiter with the A-ball team. Obviously just a great experience. Rick Anfield was actually in the outfield with me.
Oh,
so when he had switched from pitcher to outfielder, and you'd be playing warm-up with him, and he wouldn't tell you that he was throwing a curveball. And that 12-6, I mean, he would handcuff you all the time. He's like, "Rick, you got to tell me that's coming, man."
I mean, he had that cannon too.
Oh, if it wasn't 100 miles an hour, I'd be surprised.
So playing with the Cardinals, they're known for their development and their farm team. So when you were playing in the minors with them, what stood out to you about how, the players were developed? Like what was the thing that stood out to you the most about how they treat their players and how they bring them up?
I think it's also part of it is about bringing players back. There's a lot of guys, I mean, even names that weren't that big that would come back all the time and want to be a part of that and just help out here and there. And it was really just that experience pays off in a lot of different ways, and people don't always realize that. So
when you started playing, got to the Cardinals organization, I mean, was it known that you were Stan's grandson, or did people really talk about it much? Did they kind of leave that alone, or did a lot of people know?
Well, having a Schwarze as my last name, people didn't figure it out till he came.
You went by Schwarze.
I went by Schwarze there, but until he came to visit me, that sparked some interest in what is this kid? What is he doing here? Why is Stan Musial, watching this kid, talking to him, and they started figuring out pretty quick.
So talk about that first time he came to see you.
Oh, I think it was a dream of his too to always see a family member in a Cardinal uniform. So I always joke that I should have the worst mistake I ever made was not being left-handed. I was right-handed. I was like from the very beginning. But to step into those shoes is impossible. You're never going to be a Stan Musial. You got to be your own person. And I definitely tried to be, and it's hard to live up to that at times. So
and that reminds me. So were people? Did they have their own expectations for you? Did they say, "Hey, we're expecting you to be this or that," or was that something you had to kind of block out and just kind of, set your own goals, your own expectations, and focus on that?
It started at a very young age with that because I remember Mike Jorgensen, if you remember. His son was on our team, and at 12, 13, he was like, we should look into drafting you. We should look. I was like, that's a lot to take in as a 12-year-old.
Right. 12 years old.
Yeah, and unfortunately, it does get in your head. It kind of shied me away from baseball for a couple of years. I started to get back into it a little bit later in life, but unfortunately, those couple of years kind of set me back a little bit. So you got to make that time up. And playing is the best experience you can do.
What was for our youngsters watching, what was the best piece of hitting advice that your grandfather gave to you?
Stay through the zone as long as possible.
Stay through the zone as long as possible.
Have the bat at a level playing field. Because now, the difference between now, they want you to hit down so you get the backspin. They want the home run.
Will Clark, who also played for the Cardinals briefly, I was a big Will Clark fan. I saw he actually did a podcast recently where he talked about, the plane of the bat when you swing to go straight to the ball, just like you said, instead of coming up on it or swinging down on it. So it's, so he had the same philosophy Stan did.
He was actually at spring training one year and gave me some hitting tips, Will Clark.
Oh, Will Clark?
Yeah, back in, I think it was 04, 05, he was down there.
Did he tell you the same thing, pretty much?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So being in the Cardinals organization, what was the biggest lesson that you learned developing as a player?
Really, that baseball is really a fraternity in a lot of different ways. I mean, when you're in the clubhouse and the guys, I mean, you're living together, 24/7. You're with each other, and you really got to bounce off each other. I mean, it is a grind. I mean, baseball is a grind for 8-9 months out of the year, and you have to have the right people surrounding you, or else it could be a long year.
So were your parents pretty supportive of you wanting to play baseball?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they wanted me to carry on the Musial tradition, but
yeah. So tell me just how difficult, because you were in what, rookie ball?
Mm-hmm.
What's the difference between rookie ball for our viewers and going up to, say, like low A ball?
There's not a lot of difference. What they always taught us is at every level, it's all about consistency. Like if you can stay consistent, you'll move up through the system. I mean, the difference between a minor leaguer and a major leaguer, I think there was like 5,500 minor leaguers
right
at any time. And I mean, how many major leaguers are there? I mean, 1,000, I think, 900. So the difference is just ever so slight.
So let's go and talk about your relationship with your grandfather. So something you said in an interview years ago, the St. Louis Post-Dispatch, I found, said, how many guys my age can say their best friend is their grandfather? And I think about my own relationship with my grandfather, who I was very close to, spent, almost every day with him, which I was lucky enough to do that. So just talk about how influential Stan was in your life growing up as a grandfather.
I mean, even today he's been gone for 12 years, he's still very influential in my life. And I'm very blessed to have spent that time with him and get to know the people that he surrounded himself with as well. I mean, I was on with Al Roboski yesterday. We were talking about just that, like just what you were talking about, the relationship that I had and having someone that was 60 years my elder as my best friend. But there's a lot of wisdom in that as well as he was a lot of fun. People. I know he had only like 6 jokes they talked about, but we had a blast with each other. I mean, even going to dinner 6 nights a week, we still had plenty to talk about and joke about.
Where'd y'all go to dinner? What was his favorite place to go?
He had a new spot every night, but it was a night of the week. So it was like Chris's on Wednesday night. It was the Hilton Wednesday for lunch, the MAC, Mondays and Fridays for lunch, Charcoal House for a burger on Thursday before he got a massage. Like he
got massages.
He loved getting massages. Yes, yeah.
I'm sure he was probably the life of the party everywhere he went, right?
He definitely was. And I mean, I used to joke that I used to take girls on dates with us because I was in my 20s. I was single at the time. I was like, Grandpa, I got to take girls on dates with us, and they didn't know who he was at the time either. I didn't bring that up, but they thought he was a musician because he plays harmonica, and everyone would circle around listening to play the harmonica, not because of Stan the Man.
So y'all were business partners. You kind of handled his memorabilia business and all that. Mm-hmm. So talk about how you got into that with him. I mean, did he approach you and say, hey, come and, work my business? Or did y'all develop that business together? How did that come about?
No, that business had been around for quite a long time, actually. Okay. But the memorabilia side of it really started in the 90s is when memorabilia signing actually picked up in a lot of ways. Like he had a royalty side of the business where he lent his name to Rawlings and Louisville and a couple of companies like that. But it really grew into the 90s. And then when I was playing baseball in 2004 and 2005, that winter, he said, well, why don't you come work at the office with me? And so I would go into the office every day and start helping him with that. In the off season, he didn't make money because I think I was making $950 a month, and that you don't make any money in the off season.
Exactly right.
So I needed to do something, and it kind of grew from there. And then when I retired at 24 from baseball, I ended up starting to help him more there. And then he started to realize that, I mean, he was 84, 85. He was starting to get up there. He's like, well, why don't you help me driving? And then I started to be his caretaker, and it just kept kind of going from there.
You talked about not making much money in the off season. If I remember correct, if I read right, back when he played, a lot of those players, even as great as he was, they had second jobs in the off season, right? And didn't he work for his father-in-law for a time? Did I read that?
He worked at their grocery store in Denora, Pennsylvania. He was stocking shelves.
I've seen that famous picture of him kind of standing at the counter there, and the old black and white photo.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, Grandma always joked that she got him on their first date. She took him into the grocery store, and this is in the 30s. and he thought sliced meat was the best thing in the world. He's never had it before as a teenager, and that's how she won him, is through his stomach.
So talk about Stan the businessman. We know Stan the man in the baseball field. Talk about Stan the businessman. What was he like to
Yeah,
work with?
no, I mean, he was an entrepreneur at heart. He was always looking for new ideas, looking for doing new stuff, and he really wanted me to be creative as well in a lot of ways. So because everyone had an autograph on a baseball stand, but you would always come up with new ways to have an autograph. And I came up with a piece with Bob Gibson and Stan of their two best years of 1948. And I think it was 68 for Bob when he had the year that changed everything.
Yeah.
So they put all their stats on there, and we created a piece out of that, and kept doing stuff like that. I mean, I did a piece with him, and even Ryan Howard wasn't the best piece, but it was a good piece.
He's from St.
Two
Louis,
number 6. He was from St. Louis. But you try to do different stuff and see what sticks, because you got to try new things.
So I know, like we talked before we went on, and we talked about memorabilia shows and how that business has changed so much. Did he do memorabilia shows?
He did. Oh, he loved.
I mean, before they became what they are now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember going up, and it was probably the last big show he did was in Chicago, the national show in 2008. We flew up actually on a private jet, was part of the deal, because he was getting up there in age, and all the other guys came on with us. I think it was Brock was on there, Dan Deerdorf, a bunch of the other guys that were signing at this national convention. And we all flew up for the day, did the signing, and then came back.
So, it's funny because the shows I see today, you see the athletes who are there, obviously, the ones who are there because they enjoy being with the fans, and the ones who, the money grab. Mm-hmm. But I just think about your grandfather being at the shows today and just how much he would enjoy the attention.
Oh, he loved his fans. He loved interacting with them. But, I mean, he always had a joke about memorabilia is like, this is the best gig around. You look down, you pick money up off the ground, like $100 an autograph. Like, sign me up.
There's a story. I'm sure you know the story. I've known the story for years, and it's so good. There's a story about an aggressive autograph seeker who was trying to get your grandfather's autograph. You probably know where I'm going with this, maybe, and got a little too aggressive, and I think kind of bumped into your grandmother, Lil.
Knocked her over.
What does Stan do in that situation? This is the best story.
If I remember correctly, I mean, maybe you remember better than me, but it was something that he definitely helped my grandmother, but he said, watch out for my fans as well.
Yeah, he kind of snapped out a little bit and said, don't talk to my fans. Can't talk to my fans that way.
Maybe that's what,
that's one of the best. So what was a typical day like for you guys when you all were working together? Like, how did it start? How did it finish? What was your work day like with him in the business?
I mean, he had it down to the minute of every day, kind of like what we would run through. I would pick him up at 10:45. We'd go to the office by 11. He'd work from 11 to 12, sign autographs. We'd have everything set up for him. We'd do lunch 12 to 1, and then in the afternoons, it just depended what we had going on that day.
So I read that you're a memorabilia collector too.
I am.
Still.
I still am. And I enjoyed it for a long time. I was very fortunate that I got to trade a lot of jerseys with players that came through town. So, there was a time from 07 to 13, I was trading with guys all the time. I have hockey jerseys. I have a Ovechkin. I have a Crosby jersey. I have a Bryce Harper jersey. And I usually try to get them to personalize it as well, because it's really about having that moment with them and having that connection. It's not just, to me, not just about the autograph, but to have just a little bit more than that.
So again, kind of referring back to all this memorabilia back here. I mean, when you first walked in here this morning, and I kind of watched you when you were kind of looking around. I mean, what were your thoughts and your feelings when you saw this display here?
It kind of takes me back. I loved, at lunch, he would always tell stories.
What kind of stories? Tell me some good stories.
It always amazed me that he'd be talking to someone and he could bring up a count against a pitcher. He's like, oh, I remember in 1947 on this, it was at 2-2 and he threw this. Like, how do you remember that 60 years ago, that's the pitch he threw on that exact count? Like he loved timing pitchers. But he also he kind of got into their minds a little bit and really knew what they were doing before any of that was possible with all the technology they have today.
So he was of course, everybody knows him such a nice, loving guy, but he was quite the competitor, though. He did not like losing, from what I've read.
Not at all.
He did
No,
not like losing. Talk
no.
about that competitive fire that he had.
I mean, I think he kept a lot of it on the inside. He never showed his emotions all
Yeah.
that much, but he definitely knew how to bottle it up and channel it to make it out of it. I mean, one of the stories was I think they were down in the ninth inning or whatever, and he hit a double down the line that they called foul, and everyone came out yelling because it was actually a fair ball. And obviously, they didn't have replay back then. And the umps, no. And he went back to the ump. He goes, was it really foul? And he goes, yeah. He goes, okay. And then he hit it, the next pitch, he hit it in the exact same spot. And it was fair this time. And they won the game.
Growing up with him as your grandfather, we'll kind of go back to your childhood with him. When you were playing, I guess, Little League, was he able to come to your games? Or did he ever come to your games? Or
he came a lot.
Okay.
He would always grow a mustache and put a hat on.
I never knew that story.
Oh, I mean, he just wanted to be there to see us. He didn't want to be the center of attention. That was never his gig ever. He didn't shy away from it, but he also didn't ever want to be that and take away from what anyone else was doing.
So Stan the Man was really more for the public and the fans, and he was just,
oh yes,
your
Yeah.
grandfather.
I mean, he always said we loved St. Louis, and St. Louis loved us back.
Whenever you saw him with his fans, I mean, what did you observe, with his interaction with the fans?
Never turned down an autograph the whole time that I was with him. I mean, we used to have police officers come up to us wondering what we were doing because the trunk would be open and handing out autographs. It's like, oh, it's Stan. It's okay.
Whereas now, you'd see that happening, and you'd probably see money exchanges.
Yeah, right.
So did he always have something like in his pocket, like a card or something like that, or something signed, or?
So it originally started in the '90s. It was actually John Wayne, and he was at an event in L.A. John Wayne had this little 4x6 card that he had pre-signed, and he had hundreds in his pocket. And people would come up to him, and Stan was sitting there trying to sign away on anything, and John Wayne turned to him and he said, "Stan, you need to get these autographs and hand them and do it at home in your spare time, and then when you're out, you're able to give an autograph away and get back to what you're doing."
With the camera phones now, I could just imagine how people will be hounding him now, trying to get pictures with them, selfies with him if you were still around today. I mean, how do you think he'd handle that? Do you think he would yell about that, or do
I
you
never
think,
saw him
what do
shy
you
away
think?
from a fan. I mean, I mean, they had cameras back then, so I mean, he took photos whenever he could, and so I think he would just roll with the punches. It just kind of is what it is.
Something that I found really interesting that you mentioned in the interview was that he wanted the Cardinals to be the first team to break the color barrier. Obviously, that didn't happen, but why was that so important to him?
Honestly, to win.
To win.
He knew that was the way the game was going. He was upset with the Cardinal organization for not breaking the color barrier earlier, because could you imagine if Jackie was at second base with Stan in right field or at first base?
Yeah.
I mean, he always said, he was like, we would have won out the 40s and probably early 50s. I'd have a couple more World Series if it wasn't for that.
So he had a pretty good relationship with Hank Aaron. I know Hank Aaron always spoke very highly of Stan.
So he did. I actually got to talk to Hank. He actually won the Stan Musial Award a couple years ago.
Right.
And when we talked to Hank, he said, "For Stosh, anything for Stosh."
Yeah.
Because at the first All-Star game, at Hank's first All-Star game, he was sitting there playing cards, and Stan walked up to him, said, "Deal me in," and that was his way of dealing. Like, he just didn't see color or anything like that. It did not matter to him. He just, like I said, he wanted to win. Did not care about any of that stuff. But he also treated everyone fairly. It didn't matter if you were janitor or president. He treated you the same way.
Because I know that's kind of the same reason why Branch Rickey, I think, wanted Jackie Robinson, because he knew, kind of what was out there, and it was all about winning. So it was the same way. That's an incredible story. So he served in the military. Did he ever talk about his military service much?
He would joke about it. Everyone gave him props, and he said, "Well, I was in Hawaii with the hula hula girls. It wasn't that bad."
What did Grandma have to say about that?
Yeah, I'm sure she didn't like all his jokes. But no, he was, I believe it was a longshoreman, where he actually drove the smaller boats to the big boats from the island.
Right.
And they actually had baseball back then in Hawaii, and he was playing baseball, and he went to his superior and said, "Listen, you either want me to play baseball or be a longshoreman." And they said, "Why don't you stick to baseball?" So he really played baseball down there. I actually have his uniform from the Navy with
really?
all the mud and stuff on it. The Cardinals had it here for a little while, but yeah, it's still got all the Hawaiian dirt on it, and it's pretty crazy to see.
What were like holiday dinners like with him? Was he kind of the center? 'Cause I know my dad was kind of, he liked to be the center of attention. My grandfather kind of stayed in the background, but I kind of imagine, his big personality, kind of like my dad's. When family's around and always cutting up, and
he was a family man through and through.
Yeah.
And I definitely got to see that being with him all the time. But we always had really big gatherings, and he loved the more the merrier.
Yeah.
So the Musial, the Schwarzes, and we used to have Christmas dinners of like 50. So, and of course, he loved to entertain. He was an entertainer at heart as well, and not just on the baseball field, off the baseball field. And I think that's why he loved playing the harmonica.
And he played that in front of the family a lot too.
Oh yes.
I know he loved, that was kind of his thing, the Hall of Fame. He'd always played that to kind of start off the festivities, right?
Oh yeah, it's kind of an annual kickoff with Stan playing the harmonica. Yeah.
So I know when, so he passed away in 2013, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I remember that day. I remember how sad my dad was, because that was his favorite player growing up. Of course, like everybody who loves Stan, that was a very tough time. Just kind of talk about that, because I know, going back to my grandfather, the relationship we had, like I mentioned, it was a big loss, a big void to fill.
Well, losing Stan the Man was interesting. I lost my best friend too.
Yeah.
So it was even more so for me, because it was every day of my life for the last 9 years before that. It's hard to get over. He lived a great long life. He was in his 90s, did everything he could in life. He met everybody. There wasn't much to leave on the table. I thought he was going to make it to 100 because he always said he was.
Yeah.
And he broke every other record, and why not that?
Because that was one of the things when he passed away. That was one of the first things you hear about. One of the most prevalent things you hear about is how full his life was. Everything he did in baseball, the people he got to meet, just how beloved he was by everybody, and and that's something that he was such a great role model. Even today, he could be a great role model, I think, for our younger generation too. So, kind of talk about him as a role model growing up as well. For kids.
No, I can't say this enough. He loved little kids. Whatever. If we ever had anyone under 10 in the family, that's probably the first one that would come to him, or he'd go to them. Like he's loved being around children, and it was just the way he carried himself. The funny thing is, like, the role model thing is 100% correct. But honestly, he was a superstar that was just super nice and a genuine human being.
Right. Yeah, thank God for my dad being born here and raising me a Cardinal fan, because, when he passed away, when Stan passed away, you get people ask, who would you like to meet, who has passed on. He immediately became number one.
Mm.
If I had ever had the chance to meet him, he'd definitely be number one to meet. And, and it's because of who he was. Like, I read books about him. I've heard stories from my dad. I've heard you talk about him, and he's someone who I really do look up to. I've never met him, never saw him play, but he's kind of been a role model for me growing up, just because of the way he carried himself. Yeah, he was a great baseball player, but it's his character that stood out to me.
So I had someone ask me if anyone dead or alive, who would you have dinner with? And I still said Stan Musial. And they said, well, you had dinner with him, 1,000 times. And I said, it's because I miss it. And I would love to spend one more time with him.
Right. Exactly. I want to bring up Ted Williams for a second, because, he and Ted, were they pretty good friends? They were good friends. Their relationship kind of reminds me of, like Griffey and Bonds, because Stan and Griffey are both from Denora, Pennsylvania, right?
Mm-hmm.
Ted Williams and Bonds are both California guys, but both pairs kind of almost had the same personalities, right? Stan and Griffey were pretty outgoing and fun-loving, where Ted Williams and Bonds a little bit more aloof. And so talk about that relationship with Ted Williams. And I'm sure you probably got to meet him.
I got to meet Ted when I was 12 or 13.
Yeah.
And I have some autographs from him when we would go to Cooperstown. The whole family would go up there. And it's changed so much since then. It's been 30 years. But Stan's joke about Ted Williams was, people would ask me about Ted Williams, and I say, yeah, he's pretty good too.
So did he ever, like, in pride, did he ever, like, compare himself to Ted Williams, or compare himself to anybody?
He said the best player he ever saw play was Ted Williams. He said if he wasn't so stubborn, he would have hit 400 every year. And he was saying stubborn because he was a pull ball hitter.
Right.
And when they did the shift because of Ted Williams,
Yeah,
and
he was a pull ball
all
hitter,
he
you're
wanted to
right.
do is hit the ball harder at those guys. He wanted to hit the ball through those guys
Right.
to get them out of the way because he was so mad that they created the shift.
But wasn't Ted Williams, he was all about getting the ball in the air, though, too, if I remember, wasn't he?
I mean, he was a home run hitter for sure. I mean,
Yeah.
he was 2 or 3 inches taller than Stan. I think he was 6'4", 6'5", and Stan was 6'1", 6'2". So he can definitely get that lift on it. But yeah, triple count. I mean, he was a heck of a hitter.
So talk about some of the other players you got to meet through your grandfather. Who were some of the other standout? Talk about the legends who you got to be around.
I mean, I really got to be around all the Cardinal Hall of Famers. I mean, we'd go to dinners with Gibby, with Brock. I mean, Whitey, Ozzie. I mean, you name it. They were a very close family, and they would hang out at events all the time. Whenever the Cardinals had something, especially opening day. But whenever they'd bring in anyone, all those guys would get together, and they knew each other, knew each other's families. And I mean, one of my favorite stories is with Bob Gibson. And I mean, I'm in my early 20s. And Bob's still kind of scary even then. He just had he had a presence about him no matter where he was, and even in his 70s, he had a presence like that. And we were in the car one time, and I finally snapped back at him, and he goes, "There it is. That's what I've been looking for, kid."
Snap back at Bob Gibson? Why, what did he? He was just kind of egging you on,
or he was kind of poking me, and I kind of snapped. He goes, "That's what I'm waiting for. I've been waiting for that, kid."
That's what he wanted.
Oh, he wanted to see that fiery spirit.
Why do people? I mean, why do players love playing here so much? I mean, not just rookies, but then you bring over free agents or trades, and they just have nothing but the best things to say about playing here. It's almost like their careers are rejuvenated being here.
Yeah, I mean, I would like to think the fans have a lot to do with that. Just the way we embrace players, we have a knowledge of baseball, and we understand and love the game in a lot of different ways. I know it's been a little bit tougher the last couple of years, but I mean, the fans still love baseball here. They really do, and it's embodied in a lot of us. And has been through the years.
I was telling Jennifer and Brittany, who work here at the museum, I told them, everybody always looks so happy, no matter who in the organization. Everybody just looks so happy working here, whether it's the vendors inside the stadium, anybody in the front office, the museum, the restaurants. People just love working here with the organization.
Well, that's a culture, right? I mean, you only truly love your work when the culture is really good.
Yeah, 'cause every time I come here, and I always make it a point to come to the museum, or I'll do a stadium tour, but I always make it a point to spend time out here in Ballpark Village, because there's a definite vibe that you feel being here.
Yeah, there's an aura being around.
There definitely is, especially walking through here. I mean, I think they still have, there's a game used bat by Stan you can hold with the white gloves, and Lou Brock's and Oz. I've done all of them.
I never liked his handle. His handle was so small. I couldn't hold. He tried to get me to use his bat, and it would slip out of my hands. I just maybe I had bigger hands than him. I don't know. But.
Yeah, but it's just so cool. Like, you walk through here, and it's amazing. And I mean, they have even more stuff. Like down here, when you come to visit, you can open some of these drawers up, and there are more memorabilia, more artifacts of Stan Musial and everything in here. What's the one piece that stands out to you the most in this entire display?
So it's I think it's over there, but it's the Medal of Freedom. Yeah, right here. Yeah. I mean, because I got to be a part of that, and that was so special. The DeWitts flew us up on their plane to Washington, D.C., stayed the night with him. I was more nervous than him. I stayed in the room with him, and he slept like a baby. I don't think I slept a wink. It's like
he was excited, wasn't he?
All of St. Louis was watching us. It was like, I got to take care of the man. Everyone's watching us. No, it 100% was. And he always said that the Medal of Freedom meant more to him than his Hall of Fame ring, because it wasn't, his Hall of Fame ring was about baseball, where the Medal of Freedom was about life and the life he lived.
I was about to ask you, that's probably the answer to this question. I was going to ask you, what was his proudest achievement?
I don't think he took that thing off for 2 months after we came home.
Really?
He wore it every single day. He was so proud of it.
I mean, talk about this, the whole moment. I mean, how did that come about? How was, how was it announced to him that he was going to receive it? And what was the whole experience?
Yeah, I mean, so
like that whole day.
Yeah, well, the Cardinals the year before did a Stand for Stan campaign, and they were really pushing for him to get it. He was later in life, he probably had a couple years left. We were unfortunately all facing that reality,
right.
And so the Cardinals wanted to really go after it. So they did a Stand for Stan campaign the whole year, the year before, and trying to get all the media and coverage he could to get it. And then President Obama wanted when his people actually called us at the office, and then they sent an official letter letting him know that he'd be receiving the Medal of Freedom.
Now, did y'all think it was a joke at first, or were y'all like, is this real, or?
I mean, it's kind of surreal to take on. I mean,
Yeah.
that whole day was surreal. I mean, being with Warren Buffett, Yo-Yo Ma, former President George Bush, the senior. I mean, and to be able to walk around the White House, like I pretty much was given full reign, walking, standing around. I was the one pushing him. And we got to go in places that most people didn't get to go, and some of the presidential library, and just that whole day is just, I still can't even fathom that that actually happened.
But that probably wasn't his first time at the White House, though, right? Because he's met like pretty much every president.
Ever since he came up in the 40s, he was
Yeah.
invited by every single president to go to the White House, and he did.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
But was that your first time in the White House?
It was my first time in the White House. I mean, back in the 60s, he's real close with JFK, and
Right.
there's some great photos of my mom and her sisters playing underneath the Oval desk, and JFK's in the background with Grandpa. They're talking, and I mean, he always joked that when he was running for election, JFK asked him to kind of go to state in the states that he was losing, and to see if he can get him some more votes. And he said, unfortunately, I think I lost every one. I didn't mean to.
So, but you said something. He received a letter from the Emperor of Japan. Is that right? That meant a great deal to him. I saw that.
He did. Yeah, he was very close. So he was in the 50s. They went over to Japan with Anheuser-Busch to start helping them get to learn baseball, and he really helped start baseball over in Japan, and they really look up to him because of that.
Yeah.
And he got to be close with the emperor, and on his behalf, the head of the Nippon Baseball League wrote a letter when he passed on behalf of the emperor to the family. Yeah.
Was there ever a day that you got ever bored coming out here to the ballpark with your grandfather? It was like, not again, Grandpa. I've already been. I mean, did it ever get old coming out here and spending time with them?
No, later in life, unfortunately, he didn't stay that long. So there was a lot of times. I mean, Game 6, the David Freese home run game, we went down and did a lap, handed out the baseball, and went back to the car. And I drove him home because he wanted to watch the game on TV because he's like, I get better seats at home than I do. Well, he was up in a suite. He's like, I'm in a suite. I'd rather watch it on TV. So I made it back by first pitch.
So I know on opening day, the home opener is always a tradition, right? That the current Cardinal Hall of Famers come out, right? Home opener with the red jackets. Talk about that experience. I mean, because there's that big picture down in the Cardinals team shop. I think it's Stan, it's Red Shandy, is Brock Gibson, Ozzie. I think Bruce Sutter.
Was that the 2012 photo?
That maybe it's the one behind the register in the team shop downstairs.
Okay.
But I know most of them are gone. But I mean that had to be quite a moment though to be around those guys.
They kicked me out of that photo. I don't know why.
So no red jacket. You get to
well,
have a red jacket.
The irony of the red jacket is when Gibson and Stan finally decided, like, they all wore different color red jackets on opening day, and then it's like, we look silly out here.
So it's different shades of red,
different colors. So they went to Bill DeWitt and like, we need to all get the same jackets. So they all went to Brooks Brothers. Well, I actually went and got fitted for Stan's jacket because we were the same size. Yeah. He goes, "Oh, you get fitted for that jacket that's actually been donated here by the family. Fits me."
And you need so it's back here in the museum. Okay, I'll have to go check that out. That's awesome. Y'all went to a lot of Blues games. He's a big Blues fan.
He loved going to the Blues games. He really did. I mean, I think it started when he actually owned the indoor soccer team here, and they played at the old arena. So he would go there quite a bit just for that. But he was just a sports fan. He really, whatever was on, football, hockey. I mean, he really, like you said, he really got into hockey later in life. I don't know why that was, but he enjoyed hockey.
I kind of, I'd always kind of kept watching the Blues growing up, because that was the only hockey team I really knew of growing up. In my parents' old house, which is, 60 years old, we still have on one of the bedroom windows, it's like a faded St. Louis Blues sticker. I think my brother had put on them, older brother in like the 70s, and it's still there. That was really the only team that I really knew of, growing up. But also a fun fact here, my dad told me a story where my grandfather, many, many, many years ago, was going to buy a new car at the car lot, and the dealer said, "Oh, we have Stan Musial's old car on what it was it a Cadillac?
Probably a Cadillac.
Probably a Cadillac, and the guy said, he trades it in, gets a new one every year, apparently, and so my grandfather bought the car. I wish we still had it, but yeah, he bought. He had.
As you say, should have had him sign it.
I know, right? But he had Stan's car. So I mean, was he into cars or just?
Oh, he loved Cadillacs. I mean, his last Cadillac, the family donated to the Missouri Transportation Museum, and it's sitting out there right now.
What's the biggest piece of advice, the greatest piece of advice that he gave you, as far as life that you still try to live out day by day? Not baseball, but just life.
I don't know if he ever gave one piece of advice. It was just learning how he lived and kind of live by that, and how to treat people. But I mean, also have fun in life. There's a balance within life, and to do so many different things. But I mean, just being a good person and honestly have fun doing it.
What did you guys do like for fun? Like just hanging out when you weren't working, like just leisure time. What was leisure time like between grandfather and grandson?
He liked working in the yard. So I when I was a teenager, especially, that's what all of the grandkids would go over and do different stuff, and I'd be with him in the yard, and he'd be on his Toro tractor, follow me around, cutting weeds, painting fences or whatever. He'd have a hat on us, and he liked smoking stogies every once in a while.
He had the restaurant, right? Stan and Biggie's. Well, when did that close down?
86.
86. Okay, so you got to be you were
I was
little
5
though.
years old. I don't really remember.
Do you have any memories of the restaurant?
Yeah. I mean, he told a lot of stories of the restaurant. I mean, he loved the restaurant. It was open, I think almost 40 years.
What are some stories? What's a couple, one or two you can share?
I mean, he loved going in. I mean, that's where the autograph thing kind of started. That I think people came to see him a lot of times, and he had a black and white photo that he would sign for anyone that ever came in. So, I mean, who wouldn't want a steak and a lobster and a signed autograph from Stan?
So he would spend a lot of time there, just kind of probably greeting customers and walking
He
around.
was. I mean, he was an attraction there, and he knew it. And I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, he was an entrepreneur, always looking for ways to make money. And just he knew in the restaurant business, his joke was that you needed to, if you wanted to make a small fortune, you needed to start with a big one.
That's interesting. That's interesting business advice. Wow. So talk about the Musial Awards, how that came about. That's what, every December, is that correct? Or
it's around his birthday, November. Late November. Okay. Yeah, usually around the 21st of November.
Okay, how'd that all start?
Is. I mean, it's been around for quite a while. They renamed it after Grandpa, I think about 12 or 13 years ago. It was right before he passed. They just wanted to embody really who he was, what St. Louis embodies as well, and really sportsmanship.
Right.
So that has grown and grown, and now it's it's nationally televised. It's bigger than the ESPYs, and the names that we've had in the past. I mean, it just keeps going.
So did you attend every year, or?
I do. I tend to help actually get some of the talent. I'm fortunate enough to have people in the industry that are able to get to certain people. With a lot of guys nowadays, it's really hard to get to them.
Right.
They have so many people protecting them in so many ways. And it's not that they don't want to do it; it's just getting to them is the hardest thing.
So I mean, he was obviously aware of the award ceremony. How did that? What did that mean to him to have these awards?
He always took everything with a grain of salt. Just being Stan, he kind of always downplayed it, but I mean, he obviously loved it and enjoyed it, and got to see it at least kick off with in the beginning with him. So he loved attending those kind of things.
So he loved your grandmother very
70,
much. I mean, that was the love of his life.
Yeah.
Talk about the relationship between your grandparents, because I know everything that I've read, there's just like a match made in heaven, the two of them.
They obviously loved each other, and 72 years is a long, long time. Like she was like, my grandma used to joke, "Oh, you'll be married longer than me." I was like, "Grandma, I'm gonna have to be like 120 something." But no, it was fun to watch because I was with both of them, and especially like just the late at night, them. It's just funny what you miss of all that. And it's like at the end of the day, they were still a couple. They still bickered with each other, and they still poke fun at each other. And it was funny to see that, and it's something that I do miss. Like, it's just being there between the two of them, and being the intermediary and some of that stuff. It's kind of funny, but I learned a lot.
So when he passed away, I mean, were you still pretty involved with your organization even after?
I stayed on for 2 years after that.
Okay, doing
Just helping sell the memorabilia. I mean, he signed so much stuff.
Yeah.
We ended up having over 2 years worth of memorabilia sales after that. And now, I mean, the company is still around. They do royalty, they licensing with the name.
Okay.
Obviously, Arch Apparel.
Arch Apparel.
But
shirts.
I mean, it's like I said, it's still around. It's still amazing to see his name out there doing different stuff with it. I personally did a beer with him because Urban Chestnut did it a couple years ago on his 100th birthday year. We wanted to celebrate him in some way, and the last thing he asked for in this life was a lager. He wanted a beer. And I was like, I got to do something with this, knowing this information.
Oh, absolutely,
so
yeah.
I created a beer with Anheuser-Busch, with Urban Chestnut with him.
What was the name of it?
Number 6 lager.
Number 6 lager. He had a barbecue sauce.
He
Didn't
did. He loved to cook. He loved to barbecue.
It's funny. I was leaving St. Louis several years ago. I was in the airport, and one of the gift shops, I see this jar of barbecue sauce with Stan Musial on it. I was like, I'm getting that. And I'm not saying this because you're here. It's one of the best tasting barbecue sauces I've ever had in my entire life. And I'm not blowing smoke, but it seriously was.
Yeah.
It was incredible. Do y'all sell it anymore still, or I haven't seen it?
I do not think it's out anymore. But
Oh,
it was really meant for fish and shrimp. Is what
it was so
base it
good.
in a lot. Yeah.
I put it on anything. It was incredible.
That was his old family recipe from a long time ago. So,
yeah, we finished. I kept the jar. I cleaned out the jar. I still have the jar as like a little memento. Actually, I bought one of his. I have one of his rookie cards that I got
the
years
48
ago.
Bowman.
Yeah, and
which is weird because he was 1941 was his rookie year, but that was the baseball card.
Yeah.
They didn't make him for a while.
Well, it's kind of speaking of memorabilia. It's kind of like the '86 Fleet of the NBA, where that's like everybody's rookie card. I don't know if you knew that, but you have players who played years before that. But no, I bought it. I think like an eBay. This was years ago, and but it had like a crease across the middle, and it was graded. I think it like maybe a 2 or something.
Yeah.
Fine, I don't care.
Yeah.
Just to have one.
Yeah.
It was really cool.
Is it that photo?
It's this photo.
Yeah.
It's this photo that I'm wearing on my shirt again from Arch Apparel, our wonderful sponsor. So, anyway, I think that's a good way to wrap up. Brian, this has been a treat, an absolute treat to have you. People ask me why I like sports so much, and it's this reason. This is my first time meeting you, but it's like I feel like we have a connection, because your grandfather, because of my father and what he meant to all of us, to you, of course, to my father, and eventually to me. And that's why I love sports, because it just brings strangers together just for, just a common purpose and just have these conversations. I mean, this is, out of all the podcasts I've done some great ones, but this has probably been the most personal to me. And I'm just grateful for you being here.
No, thanks for
to
having
have
me.
this. And this is just
next time we'll have to do a happy
wonderful.
hour with a couple beers.
Yeah, we'll do it. I've got I'm going to stay in touch with you. Absolutely.
Got to have a lager for Stan though.
You still have some? You still have them?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, I'll definitely try it then. Absolutely. Well, that's going to do it for this episode, this incredible episode of the Tommy Denos podcast. Thanks to Ellie McGrath and Arch Apparel, our sponsor, for generously donating these shirts today that we are wearing. Thanks to Matt and Alex with Half Coast Studios here in St. Louis for producing and engineering today's wonderful episode. Thanks to Brittany Shelp and Jennifer Urish and the St. Louis Cardinals Hall of Fame and Museum for hosting us today. Please, please, please come visit. You don't have to be a Cardinals fan to appreciate this overwhelmingly incredible venue here. Also, last but not least, thank you to my wonderful guest, Brian Musial Schwarze, for being an absolute incredible conduit between all of us and your grandfather. I can speak for everybody. He meant something to all of us, for sure. I never got to see him play, but I know the stories, and he's just, like I said, he's been a role model for me, and I think he needs to be a role model for today's generation too, just how to treat people, just how to have good character. I mean, forget the baseball side, just how to be a good person. And that's why he means so much to all of us. That'll do it. So once again, you can tune in on YouTube, follow us on Apple Podcast. And until next time, you want something, go get it. God bless.